Hello and welcome to our makeup edition of episode number 5, which is our UFC recap, UFC 276 recap, NHL Stanley Cup, and the College Baseball World Series. Me and Tim want to hope you guys had a great 4th of July weekend, got to eat some yummy food, spend time with your family, and have a great time. Speaking of, Tim, how are you today, buddy?
Good. Hopefully, we got all these technical issues ironed out finally.
Yes, and listeners, we've had some technical issues. I had a PC blow up. We're trying it this way. Hopefully, it works here. We will be uploading 2 episodes for you guys today that we missed. So, without further ado, let's get started. All right, as we always do on the Markley SportsCast, is we always start off with a Markley hot take. And today's hot take, we're going to let Tim pick the hot take for us. So, Tim, go ahead, buddy.
So, did you see that video from the Nathan's hot dog eating contest?
You mean the one where Chestnut won and tackled a protester?
That's the one.
Yes, I did see it.
That was impressive and yet disgusting.
I agree.
Well, it brings me to my hot take. For those of you that don't know, Joey Chestnut, he recently won the Nathan's hot dog competitive eating contest, eating 63 hot dogs in just 10 minutes. But that is not all that happened. At some point during the contest, a fan or a protester or whatever decided to come up on the stage and Joey tackled them. So, Zach, my hot take is competitive eating a sport?
Yeah, I think it's difficult. Do I think it's a sport? Am I ready to say it's a sport? No, not yet. Now, it's impressive that he ate that many hot dogs in 10 minutes. As the viewers can see, I'm a little bit of a fluffy guy. Yeah, I call myself fluffy. And I had 2 hot dogs at Tim's house for the 4th of July, and I wanted to puke, let alone 60 plus of those hot dogs in 10 minutes. Impressive, but I'm not ready to say that it's a sport.
Well, I'm going to have to make a counterpoint to that, Zach. Before I saw this video, I would have said that eating 63 hot dogs in 10 minutes, while impressive, is not a sport. However, after watching this video and deducing that members of this competition have to also attend NFL minicamp and learn how to correctly tackle people, I'm going to say that yes, it is a sport.
Okay. Well, interesting hot take there with your little mini camp analogy, and I kind of like it. I'm with you, and you never know, Joey Chestnut might go to the NFL and might practice some tackling. But first off, why is somebody protesting a hot dog eating contest?
I'm not sure. Maybe they were a vegan. I don't know. No idea.
Okay. Well, I mean, to each their own. But hey, congrats to Chestnut. He's definitely a goat at eating. I never thought I'd say that in my life, but he definitely is. He can eat a lot of hot dogs. He could probably eat a lot of things. But I think it's impressive. And they dip that stuff in what they dip the hot dog and the bun in water and just shove it in their mouth. It's pretty impressive to see. But ultimately, I don't think it's a sport, and you do, and a great analogy. So, without further ado, let's get started with what we're here to talk about, and that's that UFC 276 card. Great card, great fights. Sure you got to watch at least the highlights. Tim, what were your thoughts on the card?
Fantastic card. It was a glorious moment, though, that you failed to mention.
Okay, listeners. What he's talking about is, and hold on, let me swallow my pride here a little bit. In our picks, Tim decided to go and go 4-0, while yours truly here went 1-3 in our UFC 76 pick'em. We just previewed and picked the 5 matches pay-per-view. You might be like, hey, Zach, there's 5. Why are you 4-0 and 1-3? There was a no contest for an incidental eye poke, which leads us to talk about that first matchup, which was Munoz and O'Malley. This fight ended, like I said, on an incidental eye poke. Referee declared it as no contest, so it doesn't count as a win or a loss for either fighter. Going into the fight, I felt real comfortable with Sugar O'Malley. Very good fighter, up and coming. Definitely could call him the next Conor McGregor. In my opinion, I felt like he was winning that fight with his leg kicks. However, Munoz did a great job of defending it. So I've seen a lot of tabloids and stuff about the eye poke. You're a fighter, you got to suck it up. I've seen people calling Munoz a sissy, all kinds of negative things on him, just because Sugar is definitely a fan favorite. So, Tim, we obviously know it ended in an eye poke. Do you think Munoz might have been a little bit of a sissy in the eye poke and couldn't continue, or was it just something that he really couldn't continue because he
Well,
really couldn't see?
as someone who has had eye injuries and a few surgeries, I can tell you that they can be pretty painful. And part of the problem, it's very distracting too when you have some pain in your eye. Um, at the end of the day, this guy's a competitor, so no, I don't think he would just quit for no reason. I think that he must have had some issue there. Maybe he couldn't see out of the eye. Which would make it difficult to fight. I mean, if you can't see on one side, I mean, you can't see a fist coming or anything. So
Right.
it's really not for us to judge. But I think that being a competitor, there must have been something going on.
Right, and I agree. And at the end of the day, there's a lot of people out there hating on Munoz, but that's why he's in the octagon and you can sit behind the computer screen and talk about it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm not going to question a guy's toughness. I mean, he gets hit for a living. That's literally his job. So I'm not going to question his toughness. I don't think he was a sissy by any means. I would have loved to see O'Malley win, but at the end of the day, if you can't continue because of an eye poke, then you can't continue. There's nothing you could do. I'm sure there'll be a rematch. Dana White is very great into having some rematches. So I'm sure there'll be a rematch, if not a third rematch. Okay, our next fight was what I call Bobby the Brawler Lawler fighting up against Barbena. Very disappointed in my boy Lawler. Tim mentioned in our preview of UFC 276 that he can't go toe to toe. I agreed with that, and what's he do? He tries to go toe to toe. And unfortunately, he got knocked out, KO. The second round, I believe, yeah, second round. So I lost that one. Timmy, of course, won that one. So what were your thoughts on that fight, Tim?
Well, again, like you said, if he stands there and goes toe to toe with this guy, he's going to lose. I mean, he needed to grapple, do some other things, clinches, try to do some takedowns, but he didn't do that, and he wasn't able to get the job done. That's pretty much all that you can say about that. I mean, he just didn't fight smartly. Part of being in the UFC is strategy, and he and his team just did not strategize this fight correctly.
Right. And our next one. And I'll let you take this one, Tim. It was the Pereira versus Strickland fight. What were your thoughts there?
Well, I told you what was going to happen. I told you he was going to knock him out.
Look at you just taking these little subtle jabs because you went 4-0 and I went 1-3.
I know, right? If I'd been 1-3, I'd be very quiet on everything. But no, there's really not much to say about it. I mean, 2.5 minutes into the fight, it was over. I mean,
yeah, it was a quick knockout, and his power is unbelievable, especially being a young and upcoming fighter. I haven't seen a lot from him yet. Impressive knockout, yes, but
he has
knockout
a lot of, he has a lot of experience in kickboxing.
Right. I still need to see some more from him. I need to see him knock out Izzy or Conor McGregor or, somebody like that.
Well, we're going to get to
Strickland.
that.
Yeah, I know. All right, the next fight on the card was a championship fight, featherweight division. Third time's a charm, not for Mr. Holloway. He lost this fight, probably the worst out of the three fights. It was this fight for him. I said in the previous podcast when we were previewing it, he needed to keep that forward pressure, keep pressuring in the octagon, and fight his fight. He did exactly what Zach did not say to do. He did not pressure. Volk controlled that whole entire match the whole entire time. And Volk won the third time and retained his title. It was by unanimous decision. So not only to the people watching the UFC 276 event in Vegas, but also to the judges. It was a unanimous decision for Volk, and Holloway couldn't do it.
The first two fights were close. I mean, they could have gone either way. This time, Volk came out there with his plan. He fought his fight, and he controlled the entire fight. So, props to him.
Absolutely. And then our last one was another title fight. And we had Izzy taking on Jared. Izzy dominated like he always does in the octagon. There's been a lot of talk throughout the tabloids again. And UFC has some pretty amazing fans. And then they got some fans that, like to stir the pot, if you will. And a lot of people are saying that Izzy's declining because he's not finishing fights like he used to. He's going 5 rounds in a championship bout. But as I said, I think that's part of his team and what they want to do. They want to go 5 rounds. Number one, it helps his stamina, his conditioning, and I think they want to prepare him because you never know. When he faces Pereira, which we're going to talk about, he might need to go 5 rounds. So it's good to have that experience in his last few fights that he needs to go those 5 rounds. But for the fight that he had against Jared had some power. He did hit him. He did rock him a couple times. But ultimately, Izzy's footwork and speed just were too much, and he won a unanimous decision. And this was his 6th title defense. Pretty impressive, and I'm ready to say he's probably the best fighter in the octagon at this current. Tim, what were your thoughts on this fight?
Well, he's definitely the best middleweight in the game right now. He was fantastic in this fight. I do take a little bit of issue with him coming down to The Undertaker's music, but I guess that's neither here nor there. He controlled the fight very well from start to finish. This is what we expected from him. He's a technical kind of guy, and that's what we got. His next challenge with Pereira, I think, may be a little more difficult for him. Pereira has actually defeated him twice in their kickboxing careers. I think that I'm going to say that when they do meet, that Pereira is going to win. I'm calling it.
Bold statement. He's calling Pereira, who's had like 7 fights in his UFC career, who upset 6-time defending champ Izzy. I don't know about that, buddy. I appreciate you and I like you, but I don't know about that bold statement. But we'll see. Like I said, I will give him the credit he deserves when he knocks out Izzy. He knocked out, Strickland. So, but Strickland isn't Izzy. So we'll see how it goes, and I can't wait for that fight. It's definitely what the fans want, and I can't wait to preview that one with you, Tim, because I have a feeling we're going to be arguing about that one.
Yep.
All right, and then in sad news, and this is not one that we are going to argue about because we both agree, Donald Cowboy Cerrone fought Jim Miller this weekend at UFC 276. It was on the undercard, so it wasn't a pay-per-view. Just the free fights you could see on ESPN before the pay-per-view. Both of them are older. I don't want to say old because they're still fighting at their age. So it was a pretty good fight. Cowboy looked determined. He came out ready to go. Ultimately, he got submitted by Jim Miller. And at the end, Joe Rogan went to interview the winner first, which he always does. And he went to interview Jim Miller. Miller said, "Hey, man, go talk to Cowboy. He has some unfinished business." Cowboy took off his gloves and sat down, his gloves and his cowboy hat in the middle of the ring. And for you guys that don't know, that symbolizes the end of a career in mixed martial arts or wrestling, whichever have you. And he called it quits. He told Joe Rogan, which I thought was pretty interesting. I asked him why now, and he said because I'm done. I don't love the sport anymore. Which I mean, he's fought a ton of times to not love the sport. So I thought that was interesting. And then he said that he was going to become a movie star. He's in a couple movies, like not a big actor, but and he's going to continue his movie career. So much respect to him. He's had one hell of a career in the UFC. And he did say that he felt like he was done on McGregor. One thing I found interesting about this whole entire fight wasn't even the fight itself. It was the fact that Dana White called him while he was on a boat with his family. And Cowboys always had the career that I'll fight anyone, any place, anywhere, anytime. And Dana called him. He's like, I'm on a boat drinking beer, eating barbecue, watching fireworks with my family. So he came up to Vegas. He had 1 week of camp, maybe a little bit more. Came in the octagon ready to fight. And then when he lost, he hung up his gloves. So much respect to him. I wish him the best of luck in whatever he does. He's going to be great, future Hall of Famer, and great career for you, Cowboy.
He is tied for the second most wins in UFC history. As you said, definitely going to be a Hall of Famer. Looking back at his career, I suppose you could say he did come up a little bit short in the big fights, but as you said, he was willing to fight anyone, anytime. He endeared himself to the fans by pretty much just being one of us. Um, that's what he did. He is going to go on and hopefully he'll become the first UFC Hall of Famer / Academy Award winner. So good luck in your future endeavors, Cowboy.
Yes, sir. I like it. That'd be awesome to be UFC and Academy winner. That'd be cool. All right. So that'll close the book on 276. Fans, viewers, listeners, what have you, if you want to email in the show, it's the Markley SportsCast at gmail.com. Let us know your thoughts on UFC 276. If you want to call me dumb for going 1-3, or you want to call Tim the champ, the GOAT, whatever, for going 4-0, just let us know. We love the interaction for Tim and I. It makes things a lot more smooth. So closing the book on that, we are going to move to the NHL. They just crowned their Stanley Cup champion a few weeks ago. But before we get into the championship, I do want to talk about the Penguins. I'm a Penguins fan. Always been a Penguins fan my whole life. And probably the most frustrated I've been since losing to the Red Wings all the time back in the day was this year. The Penguins had a 3-1 series lead as an underdog over the Rangers, which was a very great team. They had DeSmith in as goalie. He played okay, but he got hurt. He hurt his groin. He was out for the season. Brought in backup goalie. Played in the AHL. Never really got that NHL experience, especially playoff experience. Just threw him in. Young kid, played great. Played lights out. Gave him that chance. Gave him the 3-1 lead, basically. Then they're like, Jerry's coming back, which was the starting goalie. Jerry's back. They threw Jerry in the net, and it's all downhill from there. They ended up blowing the 3-1 lead. I was very disappointed in Coach Sullivan's ideas of putting Jerry back in the net. You know, the old saying, if it's not broke, you don't need to fix it. And it wasn't. They had a 3-1 lead. So I'm a little bit against that. But what do you think, Tim, about Penguins blowing a 3-1 lead?
Well, I mean, they had some injuries to some key players, but at the end of the day, you got to bring it home. And with a 3-1 lead, there's no reason you shouldn't be bringing it home. So all you can say is they choked.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They choked. And as a Penguins fan, I heard it a lot about choking. Trust me, my DMs on Facebook blew up about that. So, with that being said, what's next for the Penguins? Um, the free agency's coming. The big three: Malkin, Letang, Crosby. Now they did sign Crosby, so Crosby's going to retire, Penguin. But how about the other two, Tim? What do you think's going to happen here?
Um, the Penguins, they've got a lot of work to do this offseason. I believe that Malkin and Letang will both be back because the fact of the matter is they've got 22 million in cap space. If they don't bring them back, who are they going to replace them with? They have nobody ready to come up. Um, the free agency, I mean, they don't really have the money to spend there. They're going to need a goalie. Uh, Whether a starting goalie, I mean, Jerry, he's not an elite goalie. So do you try to get somebody better than him, or just try to get a backup? I don't know, but they definitely have to get a goalie. Um, but they're going to have to create some room in their cap space. I mean, they've got quite a few guys. Kapanen for one. This is a kid that, I mean, they took him in the first round twice, so they really saw something in him. And to this point in his career, I can't say what they've seen in him. He's not played like a first round pick. So they should look at non-tendering him. They got some other players that are maybe making a little bit more money than their play justifies, so maybe they can try to trade them for someone that makes a little less money. They have a few guys that are very injury prone, so maybe they can non-tender or trade them. But at the end of the day, yeah, they definitely need to re-sign Malkin and Letang. Letang, he kills penalties. I mean, his defense is very suspect. Um, that's being kind.
Yeah, that's an
Um,
understatement for sure.
but I think they got to re-sign those two and then just try to do something at goalie. Whether it's to get somebody to replace uh, Perry or whatever it is. Jerry. Jerry. Perry. Yeah. Whether they replace Jerry or just get a backup, they've got to do something at goalie.
Yeah, absolutely, and I agree with you, 100%. I I don't like Letang, but I know with Malkin and Crosby, he's happy. And I did just hear breaking news, by the way, that they're close to a deal with Letang. Now, if they could sign him and get Malkin, I think it'll be great because you don't want their last memory, the three, to be that we blew a 3-1 lead. But as far as goalie, I miss Marc-Andre Fleury every day of my life. He was an elite goalie. He is an elite goalie. He has some injury concerns. But when a puck's getting thrown at you 100 miles per hour, you're probably going to have some injury concerns, no matter how much patch you have. But yeah, I, I don't know what the Penguins are going to do, and I'm really worried about it. I really hope they sign both of them to stay on with Crosby, but if not, we're going to have those young guys step up. All right, and with that, since the Penguins blew a 3-1 series lead, they're not going to be in the Stanley Cup final, and they're not going to win the Stanley Cup final. So, the Stanley Cup final matchup was the Colorado Avalanche and the Tampa Bay Lightning. We thought it was going to be a great series, with the Avalanche, their speed, quickness, ability to pass the puck. And then you have the Tampa Bay Lightning, who's big, physical, and great on offense, really. But like I said, I was at B Dubs with a buddy of mine, and I told him when these Stanley Cup playoffs started that the Avalanche had the best team. I watched their speed, and they were just blowing teams out with the speed. And that's exactly what they did against the Lightning. And Lightning's no slouch. They've been there the last 2 years, and they're going to continue to be there every year. I think they'll definitely be competing for Lord Stanley. So, for the viewers that don't know, the Avalanche defeated them 4-2. So, it wasn't really a close series at all. I know at home the Avalanche won like 7-1. So, very good series in the fact for the Avalanche. But I'll tell you, Tim, the one thing I love about hockey, man, is they beat each other up. Literally every game, hard hits. They fight after every blown whistle. and then at the end of the day, they shake hands once the series is over. And I think that's the most remarkable thing in sports is you hate each other for a minute, and then you go and shake hands the next second. So
Right.
I think that was very interesting. And props to Colorado. Finally somebody brings the championship to that state.
Right.
So good for them.
2001, since their last Stanley Cup.
Yep.
This was a great series. I found it interesting that they somehow managed to dent the Stanley Cup within a couple of hours of winning, but
Hey man, I mean to each their own. There's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in that.
I'd be putting some bubble wrap around it.
You're telling me you wouldn't drink beer out of the Stanley Cup or kiss it?
Oh yeah, yeah, but it had bubble wrap on the outside.
Oh, okay. I get you.
I also found it interesting. Coach Jared, he said that the last game he was very nervous about whether or not they were going to be able to win, and he said that he was very focused on the action out there on the ice, and he wasn't paying any attention to the clock. And the game was over, but he didn't realize it. He said he saw the guys on the bench celebrating, and he's thinking, why are they celebrating? We still have 7 seconds left. But yeah, the game was actually over, and I just thought it was interesting that he was that focused.
Yeah, very interesting. And for the viewers that don't know, I've coached 11 years, and I'm the same exact way. Before every match, competition, I'm a nervous wreck for my kids that I coach, and in his case, for the men that he coaches. You're always worried. Whether it's 7 seconds, 2 seconds, it's not over till the fat lady sings. So, I mean, I get his point. I get why he thought that. But at the end of the day, hey man, they're Stanley Cup champs. I bet you now though, he's not thinking anything different other than we Stanley Cup champs, baby.
Right. Maybe
So, yeah.
he's the one that dented the cup.
Maybe. He was just so nervous he was shaking as he was holding the cup and just fell.
Right.
All right, and then our final segment, very interesting thing here. The Ole Miss Rebels defeated the Oklahoma Sooners in the College Baseball World Series, which is in itself is pretty cool. Oklahoma is always there in baseball and softball, and much hats off to them. They just played the Rebels when the Rebels were great and had that momentum. Tim, what were your thoughts on this whole World Series?
Well, Oklahoma is one of the few teams in the NCAA that has won more than one baseball championship. But this time they just ran up against a team that, well, maybe they shouldn't have been there. Their start to the season was just absolutely abysmal. That's really all you can say about it. They ended up benching all of their starting pitchers, and they relied on a junior and a freshman to take them all the way to the championships, and I got to give props to that. After May the 1st, they won 18 out of 22 games. They outscored their opponents 160 to 74. And then in the tournament, they were 10-1, which is fantastic. I mean, considering this was the last, they barely made it. They squeaked right into the tournament. They were the last team added. They weren't supposed to win anything. They've had better teams in the past, and they didn't make it. But this team, I don't know what it is. If it's the coaching or the heart or what, but this is the Cinderella story of all time in sports. You hear all the time that there's a Cinderella story, but these are the guys. And there will be movies made about them, and I can't wait to see where these guys go in the upcoming MLB draft. And then, of course, their recruiting is going to be on the uptick. So, congratulations to everyone in the tournament. Congratulations on a good season.
Yeah, absolutely. And you said it perfectly. And I think Ole Miss, I've always said that baseball's about streaks. It really is. And it doesn't matter how you started the year, it's how you finish. And they finish on a roll, 10-1 in the World Series. It's pretty daggone impressive in baseball because you know how baseball is. You could be beat any day. I mean, look at the Yankees and the Pirates. Um, so you could be beat any day. And Ole Miss really impressed me. I think it's a lot to do with their coaching. And sometimes you just need that. Hey, you're all going to be benched, and we're going to bring in new players that could give us that chance to win. And that's exactly what they did, and it was more of a wake-up call. So much respect to them. You know, they kind of got, being the last team in, they kind of got thrown under the radar. Tennessee, it was all about Tennessee. Tennessee's this great team, and they didn't even make it out of the first round. They lost to Notre Dame. So much respect and hats off to the Ole Miss Rebels on winning their first NCAA World Series. And congrats to Oklahoma. You know, they just faced a team with the big M, as I call it, big momentum. So, well, that'll wrap up this episode, Tim. Thank you, buddy. I know it's been difficult with all the technical difficulties, but hopefully we have that all hashed out and ready to go. For our viewers, thanks for listening.
Shout out to my wife for getting us fixed up for this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And to our viewers, thank you for listening and staying with us during all of this technical difficulty thing. You know, modern technology, sometimes hard to deal with. If you like what you see, go to our YouTube page, go to our Facebook page. It's the Markley SportsCast. And then if you do the Twitter, go give us a like, follow on the Twitter, retweet some things. It's at Markley Sports. And as always, if you guys want to comment in, be a guest on the show, go to the Markley SportsCast at gmail.com and email us in, and we'll read your stuff live on the show.
You can always comment on that Facebook or on the YouTube, or give us a tweet. Give us a follow over there on Spotify too at the Markley SportsCast. It's all free.
Yep, we like the interaction. Trust me. Me and Tim don't want to sit and talk to each other all day. We do that enough.
Right. I know, right?
But much love to the viewers. Tim, thank you for another great episode, and we'll be back on our next one talking about college football.
All right.
Yeah.